Hi, I'm Joyce Harper, Professor of Reproductive Science at the Institute for Women's Health at University College London. Welcome to Season 3 of my podcast, Why Didn't Anyone Tell Me This? This season, we'll be diving into topics that explore how to achieve good health and happiness. I'll be speaking with leading experts who will provide evidence-based advice and debunk some of the many myths around our health. Additionally, I'll be having conversations with individuals who bring unique perspectives through their lived experiences. In Season 3, we'll cover a diverse range of topics, including reproductive anatomy, inspiring female icons, chronic health conditions, factors that influence our well-being, and global women's health issues. I really hope you enjoy Season 3 of Why Didn't Anyone Tell Me This? Welcome to another podcast in the mini-series about reclaiming joy. And I really have got carried away. There's so many brilliant things I want to talk about. I have decided that we're going to stop at some point and I'm going to take some to next year. Anyway, today I am interviewing a really amazing woman, Lou Featherstone, about Lou in Luland's self-love revolution, baby. What can I say about this woman? Lou is a 50-something mum on a mission to help women of all ages unlock their potential and become as confident as they can be. Hence the Self-Love Revolution Tour. She's a founding member of the Zero Fucks Club. Sorry about the swearing, but there's going to be a lot in this podcast. So if you don't want to hear it, turn off now. But the Zero Fucks Club is a sex-positive movement that helps others grow old disgracefully. And to do that, Lou is touring the world in her beloved vintage Bluebird bus, busting myths about midlife and menopause along the way. After emigrating from the UK to Portland, Oregon, she found herself extremely unhappy. She'd lost touch with her sexy self. Through small groups of amazing women in Portland and her incredible Instagram community, she began to speak out more and soon discovered her own voice. That process led to two huge discoveries. First, she mastered solo sex, which changed her relationship with her body and was a huge part of refinding her confidence. Second, it led her to feel less connected to her husband, and she made the incredibly difficult but incredibly bold decision to separate. At this time, she was a track and field tutor at a local high school, but they did not approve of her social media presence, so naturally, she told them to fuck off. Sustainable fashion is another huge passion of Lou's. Check out her Instagram to see her wild style. She has an array of fantastic clothes on her bus, and she gives women permission to play with their clothes, which involves a lot of fun and a lot of fucks. Every day, she wakes up more in love with who she is. I love myself more today than I did yesterday, and tomorrow I'll love myself more than I do today. Well said, Lou. She's a TEDx speaker, helping women find their roadmap to self-love. Fuck the rule book. Lou has certainly reclaimed her joy. Welcome, Lou.
And the crowd goes wild.
This is going to be outrageous, everyone. Just warning you, there's going to be lots of swearing. Helen Mirren says we can say fuck. So we're going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We do not need Aaron Millen's permission.
Oh my God, we're off already. So, Lou, oh my God, I am so excited. This is going to be the wildest podcast I've ever done for sure. And I must say, and I have told you this, I had been following you on social media for a while, and I thought, my God, this woman's a bit scary. She's just,
my God, I'm dying.
Honestly, that's what I thought. And then I met you at the Big Retreat Festival, and I totally fell in love with you. You are you're amazing. You've got amazing energy. And I just so love what you're doing, because everyone I meet is trying to sell something. They're selling their book or selling something or supplements or some crap. And you're just out there.
Mm-hmm.
And But we're going to start at the beginning. You have had an amazing journey to get to where you are now, and you're still stewing and developing as we speak. But let's start at the beginning. Tell us about your life and what led you where you are today. Big question.
Oh my God, that's going to take the whole podcast. I'm going to be as quick as I possibly can. We need several things when I'm on a podcast. One, parental guidance warning. Two, we need a hand signal. You need to give me a hand job when I need to shut up because I don't stop. Well, thanks for having me on, baby. I love that you were scared of me. Well, I don't love that you were scared of me, but I've been fascinated by that all week. I mean, I've spent most of my life like that. I think the kids would describe me as jarring. I think that's what the kids say these days. And I think part of that, I think I've grown into that. I sort of embraced that. I think as a child, I found that really difficult. I didn't understand why people didn't like me. Because I was just so loud and probably quite obnoxious, I think. Because, when they always say check on your loudest friends, they're not okay. And I think I was that for many years till I actually found my confidence. And now I'm very unapologetic about it. But I think I spent a lot of my childhood being really apologetic for being so loud and so wild and, trying to be a round peg in a square hole. But I'm going to do this so quickly, right? Let's see if I can do this quickly. I was born a vicar's daughter. Dad was a vicar. Mum was a probation officer. She worked with some pretty serious offenders. Yeah, she was a badass, actually. Mum was a badass. First, she was a journalist, then a probation officer. So, I don't know, life in the vicarage was amazing. That was wicked, because you never knew who was going to be at the front door. It might be somebody looking for a funeral, or looking to get married, or it could be the bishop, or it might be somebody, the homeless. I was making beans on toast for the homeless from about age 8. So the front door was always open, and I just grew up in community. Whether it was church or we were on marches quite a lot. My dad was really political. Both my parents were quite socially conscious. So grew up going on CND marches, and Dad was always in trouble with the bishop because, he was not supposed to be political. Anyway, so life was wild. We moved quite a lot. We moved whenever God called, off we hoofed. And so I think I became quite resilient. As a kid, I was like, we're moving again. But I learned very quickly I was quite nimble at adapting and changing. And it was quite good because I slept with quite a lot of boys. So I could just move and start again. and leave my slutty reputation behind and then move on. And then I wanted to go into social work. I think from a really early age, I knew that life was about more than just me, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I wasn't sure if it was God calling, because Dad, obviously. And then I thought it was social work. I thought it might be politics. I couldn't tell what it was. And I wanted to go into social work. But in those days, you couldn't get onto your social work degree course till you were 21, and I was only 18. So the careers woman said, go off and get some experience in social work. So I went and did a year in Cardiff, working for Bernardo's with young offenders. Then I got a job in Berlin, working for the British Forces as a youth worker out there for families who were British Forces kids who were based out in Berlin. And it was still East and West then. Then I came back from there and I was a holiday rep. I ran kids clubs. Then I got promoted to club 18 to 30. So my job was getting everyone drunk, which I was so good at that job. Then I got into fitness and worked at a health club for a while. I ran the creche and then I became an aerobics instructor. Then I got a job in advertising and started to sort of find my way in the creative world and found myself in a wicked agency. In the meantime, I'd had part-time. I was a stripper for 2 weeks when I couldn't afford the rent. I did all sorts of things. Life was pretty wild. Advertising in the 90s was amazing. My job became the company parties, which, again, I was absolutely brilliant at. And that's where I met my husband. And I kind of married the first man who wouldn't sleep with me on the first date. Because I thought that must be love. This man must really love me if he doesn't want to sleep with me. Because I discovered at this point that sleeping with boys got me very popular very quickly. He was such a lovely guy. We fell in love. 5 years later, I find myself pregnant. We're getting married. Was so happy. We'd moved to Brighton, and yeah, found myself pregnant, had Oscar. 2 years of postnatal depression later, sort of started to come out of that. Really did not enjoy childbirth, did not enjoy the first 2 years. I was so miserable, pretending I was fine, crying into the walking up and down Brighton seafront, crying my eyes out, just going, what about me, what about me? And that was before the internet really took off. It was before there was, mummy bloggers talking about how hard it is, and I just thought it was only me in the whole world, because obviously the whole world revolves around me. After 2 years, I started to sort of come out of that a little bit, and I'd started working at a baby swimming company of all things. And then eventually, Oscar started school, and then life really took off. I became chair of the PTA. I started the school camp. I started a big family festival in Brighton that's still going today. I loved school. It gave me the community that I'd sort of like been missing, I think, since my childhood, so I could make myself really useful at school. Till I got fired from the PTA for letting all the mums drink Prosecco at the school disco. Which still to this day, I want that to be talked about at my funeral. It's still one of my most proudest achievements. um And then my husband's career had continued to soar. I'd left baby swimming, and I'd finally found my way to social work, and I was working as a community family worker. So I'd go into the family homes and I'd be teaching parenting skills, trying to keep the kids at home. It was like a last stop before the kids were removed and put into care. And I really loved that job. I absolutely loved that job. So I was juggling motherhood, PTA, school governors, community festivals, like all mums, I'm juggling 900 balls. But my husband was commuting up and down to London, to advertising. Still, he was in advertising, big fancy swanky job, which was lovely. And I felt like on paper we had it all. It was some really happy days. Oscar had a wicked gang of mates. We had a wicked gang of mums. We all got on, and we had the holy grail of parenting groups, because all the dads got on as well. So we did loads of camping. Yeah. And then he got offered a big job in America. My husband got offered a huge job in America, which was terribly exciting. When he told me we were moving to Oregon, I was like, I'm moving to Oregon? Why are we moving to Oregon? Like, in my head, it was sort of like LA or New York, or that was about it. And he went, no, trust me, I think you'll really like it. So we kind of went out to have a look, and I instantly fell in love with the place. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. It's one of the most beautiful spots in the world. So then, after a bit of toing and froing, we were like, okay, let's go. So we set off for our American dream, first class on the plane. We packed everything up, said goodbye to all the family and friends, and off we set. And I think, looking back now, almost the day we arrived, we started just to go on separate paths. We went off on separate paths. I literally thrived in America. I loved the fuck yeah, let's go. Oh my God, American dream, and I will preface that by saying very white privileged American dream. I'm very, very conscious of that. But for an entrepreneur and somebody who's a bit creative and trying to figure out their path, America is the place where, everyone's encouraging of everything. They celebrate everything, and I found that just so empowering. And I met the most badass women I've ever met in my life. And accidentally started this hiking group. And sort of life changed from there, really, climbing these damn mountains every week with all these mums that I've met from school. It's a bit of a tale, but someone had bought us a hiking book, and I did one hike by myself. The next day, and I put it all on Facebook, and the next day at school, someone went, can I come next week? I was like, yeah, sure, bring some lunch. Let's meet at the coffee shop. And the next week she went, can I bring a friend? Yeah. And so it just grew from there. So I started this hiking group, and it was just, I don't know, these women. There was something metaphorical in us taking the time for ourselves, but also for each other, pushing each other up mountains every week. It was like therapy. Everyone's just downloading their shit. And I don't know, because it was strangers as well every week. Some week, there was a hardcore of us that sort of like steady, but each week different women would come. And some weeks you'd be like, you know, it might be a woman that you wouldn't necessarily choose to invite to dinner or go out for a drink with, but you share this moment together, climbing up a mountain and listening to her and the way she was dealing with things, or, you know, I might come home and think, God, I maybe wouldn't do it like that, but what a fascinating, what a fascinating woman, or sort of really understanding, but so understanding that we're all in the same shit together, I think. But yeah, there was something really magical in those weeks of hiking. Hike squad, I called it. We ditched the kids at 8 a.m. We were in the coffee shop for 8:15. We left the coffee shop at 8:30. You had to bring something to share for lunch and a can of hiking wine, because they make champagne in cans in America, which was very civilized. They had to bring hiking wine. So then we could be on a volcano in like an hour. I mean, we were nailing life, Joyce, nailing life. And we'd have therapy all the way up the mountains, bloody husbands, bloody kids, fuck this, fuck that, have lunch, drink our hiking wine, bitch about the kids all the way back again. By the time we got back to school, we were like, okay, can handle anything with these women, like, and the energy. And then what happened in America? I don't know. My husband's career kept soaring. Oscar's busy at school and in sports, so hike squad kind of growing, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I couldn't work for the first year. I mean, what a gift that was, I have to say, and I will always thank my now ex-husband for that. Yeah, a year of not working. I mean, when we left for America, I was in a right panic about what am I going to do with myself? I worked so hard. Like, what am I going to do? Let me tell you, I settled into doing fuck all real quick. I was very, very good at that. The CEO of doing fuck all. But then I started coaching kids track and field at school. I started coaching kids CrossFit. I started doing pop-up British tea parties, because American women love that shit. Then I started doing vintage shopping tours. I then one night I was invited I go to this women's group called Pom Pom Social, it was called. And that you'll appreciate this. There was a woman who'd been invited. She was the guest speaker for the week, was a lady called Tammy Kent. And I cannot recommend this woman enough. Google her TED Talk. It's called The Vagina Whisperer. And she's a holistic pelvic coach and therapist. And she's written a couple of books, and I was like, I was way before my woo-woo journey had ever really begun, and it was so out of my comfort zone. I did not want to go to this talk, but I was reading Shonda Rhimes' The Year of Yes. Shonda Rhimes, who wrote Grey's Anatomy, she's got an amazing book called The Year of Yes, because she realised that she never said yes to anything. And I was so inspired by that. I'd been doing say yes to everything. So I was like, fine, I'll go to the vagina therapy evening. Anyway, so we were sitting there meditating to our vaginas, and I was like, our vulvas, I was like, what is happening right now? This is so not my thing. And I was like, you say yes to everything, close your eyes and get into it. Because I was looking around the room with one eyebrow raised going, what a bunch of wankers. Closed my eyes. To this day, I cannot tell you what she said, but I can tell you when I left that room, something had moved in me. She had shifted something inside me. And it took another few years when I was talking about it in an interview to somebody, and they said, what is it she did? And I suddenly realized, and it was 4 years later, I went, she shifted my shame. She managed in that one meditation, to shift my shame from my slutty years to my traumatic birth to postnatal depression to all of that pain that I was carrying in one bloody meditation that I didn't want to do. She shifted something, and I felt it move. I felt different as I left. And the next morning I walked out of the bedroom, and my husband and son were like, what is up with you? Even they could sense it in me. It was such a powerful moment. And my son was like, what is up with you? And I went, me and my vagina feel very powerful. And he said, oh my God. I went, we're going to do something. And he went, what are you talking about? I went, I don't know. And he was watching YouTube, and I was like, what are you watching? And I hadn't really paid much mind to YouTube at this point. So I went, well, maybe we'll start a YouTube channel. And he went, what are you going to call it? And I went, I don't know. Maybe I'll call it Midlife Margaritas and the Menopause. He went, ugh, no one's going to want to watch that. You know, teenage Kevin and Perry. He went off to school, and that was it. I was like, fuck you, I'm going to start a YouTube channel called Margaritas and the Menopause. So it ended up being, that was Lou and Lou. I was already on Instagram and I was doing lots of pretty pictures of the hiking, and my style's always been a large part of what I do, and fitness was a part of it. But then I just started really talking about midlife and menopause, because I was finding a sort of strength in menopause, and this was back in this was probably 2018 now. So actually, it wasn't an open conversation even in 2018,
No.
and there was just a few people out there talking about it a little bit, but it was not the movement that we see today with so many women out there. You know, and now recently I was on Naomi Potter's podcast, you know, Dr. Naomi Potter, huge menopause doctor in the UK. And during the talk to her, I was like, now I look back at the next 5 years was such a huge journey for me. I thought I was the only one in the whole world going through menopause at one point. But I actually found a power in it. I was starting to find a power in it, and a strength in it. And, you know, my husband and I had really, really at this point, we'd neglected each other to the point of no return. So when it got to lockdown and we were locked in the house together, it just, you know, like so many of us, it was like, oh, fucking hell. So I had a perfect storm of menopause, lockdown, and moving in the spare room and separating from my husband. Now, on reflection, I see how they may all be linked together in a catastrophic moment, but actually it was really empowering. And so we separated. I told you it was a long story. So I moved into the spare room. We started therapy. It was probably a bit late, and it was certainly too late to find our way back together, which was terribly sad because nothing ever really happened. There was no cataclysmic affair or a moment or anything. It was just literally neglect, terminal neglect. And yeah, we decided to call it quits, and I started to talk even more. I started to show up. Oh, Saffron Walden Wi-Fi's.
It's okay. I can hear you.
There you go. I don't know. There was some hard years. I started to talk even more online, and the more I started to show up as myself online, more people came, which blew my mind. I'm like, oh, this is wild. And Instagram just started to blow up, and my direct messages were just jam-packed with women going, oh my God. You know, I thought at that point, I was talking a lot about the Zero Fucks Club. I was like, I don't know what's happened to me, but I've just woken up and I give less fucks. And this is amazing. For someone who really didn't give that many fucks to begin with, this was very, very liberating. And I was snowboarding down mountains in swimsuits. I was, you know, streaking naked. I was naked roller skating in the middle of the day. I was doing so many wild things. Instagram was blowing up. And the more I talked about real shit, the more women came. My direct messages were stuffed full of women just going, oh my God, I see you. I am you. I am lost. I'm lonely. I'm invisible. I feel like shit. And I couldn't stand it. I was like, so many women are lost and just feeling unseen out there. And then as we were coming out of COVID by this time, sort of like 2021, I guess, I was wondering what was next for me. And I saw an old bus by the side of the road, and I just had this mad idea. I saw the bus and just instantly had a mad idea to buy the bus and just go out and meet all these women, because I am like, I'm fun online, but I'm more fun in real life, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just prefer real life. I prefer that connection. And I prefer, you know, and I absolutely do believe, you know, I've built an actual community online that, you know, people have met people, you know, they've met people through my page, you know, but I loved it in real life. And I think coming out of COVID, we all needed that so much. So I thought, I'm going to buy a bus and I'm going to drive around America, and everywhere I go, I'm going to throw events, and I'm going to use the bus as a beacon. I'll do a rup so everybody will see her coming, and then I'll build community everywhere I go. I'll like throw events, and then women can find each other, and I'll do that. And so I did.
Wow.
I did. I saw an old bus. I bought a bus. I crowdfunded a bus. Learned to drive this bus. It was freaking wild. Built. Got a map. Got a bunch of post-it notes. Stuck them on a map. Places I wanted to go. Invented a tour. I had 50,000 followers, Joyce. I don't know who I thought was coming to these events. I thought I was going to fill stadiums en route. I was convinced I was going to change the world on my own on my bus. And so as soon as my son graduated from high school, I set off around America on this bus, throwing events and having the most amazing wild adventure you can imagine. I mean, you can only imagine, you know, the people that I met and the adventures I had. And the events were great. They were like, you know, me and my 50,000 followers. There was like 3 people at one event, 4 at another, you know, 200 at the next one. I was like, what is happening? But I learned so much. I learned so much. That fucking bus broke down. She was so expensive, but she taught me just to slow down and just, I don't know, just be. I left my husband on that bus. I healed on that bus. I grieved on that bus. And she taught me so much. Like, I had to move at Susie speed because she just only goes at like 60 miles an hour. Couldn't get anywhere quickly. Had to adapt. I learned to let go of so much stuff, mainly my really control freak tendencies. And this journey on this bus just became so metaphorical for my journey in life. We broke down. We had good days. We had bad days. We had adventures. There was days of regret. It was just immense. But the women in need who came knocking on my door at the bus, the events were great, but the women in need, they would see my bus, they would look me up online, and something drew them to the bus, and so they would come knocking on the door. So women who'd been beaten up by their husbands with their suitcases move into the bus till we could get them in a shelter. I found women dying of cancer without health insurance. It was insane. So then I moved back. I got to New York, finished the tour, decided to move back to the UK, which was always the plan. And my mum had died. I wanted just to be near my family, and it was time to come home. And but the bus was so powerful, I decided to spend half my divorce money and ship the bus back to the UK so I could carry on the tour in the UK. 2.5 years later, finally got the bus out, and now I'm doing a tour of the UK on the bus. That was the quick version.
It was only about 25 minutes.
So sorry.
And that's all we've got time for. No. That's not all. No, I'm joking. Oh my God. So, Lou, you are doing social work. You're doing social work now.
I am.
And to me, your whole life, you have done that from age 18, all the things you've done. You have always had that calling for community, always. Listening to your story there, it was all about community. You have given your whole life, you have given to everybody else. You've been teaching. I mean, teaching's an amazing. I know, Dad, we're going to cry. I was crying a bit before. I know, I keep crying. We can cry. It's good. I had goose pimples as well when you were talking earlier. You gave me goose pimples and some tears. But you have always, the vision of you being in charge of the PTA with your clipboard. I hope you had a clipboard.
Can I tell you? When I took over the PTA, the previous PTA bitches handed me this binder of how things should be done. Well, you can only imagine what I did with the binder of how things should be done. I'm like that, straight out the window, like ripped it up. I was like, I am not doing one event that they have done before. Like, I don't know. They hated me. I did a balloon race. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful. I'm solely responsible for the decline of the fucking planet, letting 1,000 balloons go. But it was so exciting. But in my defense, it was so exciting. They stood there with their arms folded. They were furious. I actually bought a sweatshirt that said "Haters gonna hate," and it was directed at the old PTA because they literally couldn't stand me, just because I wanted to do things differently. So yeah, I loved the PTA. I loved it. I loved it. I'm such a busybody.
Oh, but yeah. But I love the fact you've always had this sense of family as well with the children, and it's just amazing.
Mm,
So I can absolutely see why so many women relate to you. And listen, we do get to this age, and I was going to call my next book "We Don't Give a Fuck Anymore." I think the thing menopause
yes.
does for many women is it gives us the strength to say, hey, I've been, and I know you're still going to look after everyone else. We always look after everyone else because that's the sort of people we
Of
are.
course.
But also, like, actually, I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks or says. I've been very, very loud, and I think a lot of people find me too too much. But I should stand with
Yeah,
you
right.
because, yeah, you're a lot louder than me, so you make me look quiet.
I
But
don't know, Joyce. I'm not sure. I think I just wear less clothes. That's all.
but I think what you're doing is the time is so right, and everything you've done in your life has been this journey, and now what you're doing is so so important, and you are giving so many women permission to be themselves, which
I
is, I love that, Lou.
I think that was interestingly, that was the sort of overwhelming messages that I would get. You give me permission to wear a sequin cardi. You've given me permission to, go on this trip and walk up a mountain. You've given me permission to leave my husband. Like it, and I couldn't get my head around that. Um, but I have now. When I left on tour, I was like, I want to have Roe versus Wade in the States. It was a tricky time. It was
Oh,
the first administration of you know who, and I wanted to. Roe versus Wade had just been overturned, and I was obsessed with whether different women in different states would feel differently. I was, because I'd never been down south. I was quite afraid of the sort of, part of the vision for the board. On the mission board for the bus was throwing vibrators as they went through the Bible Belt. I wanted to throw vibrators out the window because I'd very much lost my sexual side of me in marriage. I don't know what had happened to that. It had just literally, and I'm not saying I don't put that all on him. I think for a few years I blamed him, and then again, and at the beginning of this podcast, you said, I love your constantly unraveling, or your constant. I can't remember what your expression was, but I love the journey. Like I've so embraced this journey. I've embraced this constant learning, and I literally searching, not necessarily all the time for the answers, because I've also settled into the fact that you don't always get the answers that you sort of set out looking for, but I'm so tuned into looking for what things mean, or I don't know how you put that. But that was very much part of that. When I realised that I was doing a talk, so I'd like to put the blame on him for a while about our sex life going to shit. And actually, I was doing a talk about a year and a half later after I'd left. And halfway through the talk, I was like, and he never touched me. And I went, but then I suddenly realised in the middle of this talk, I went, but then I did go to bed in a tracksuit for about 6 years. So that might have been a confusing message. I was like, I completely did. I went to bed. I went to the spare bath. I went to the bathroom, put tracksuit on, went to bed in a tracksuit. I mean, it's hardly like, and then lay there going, "Oh, why won't he fuck me?" Interesting, Lou. At some point, you might need to take some accountability for your role in the demise of your sex life. What was that?
but
But
you've
then when I moved into this
Karen.
when I moved into the spare room,
Yeah.
I got a vibrator, and I hadn't had a vibrator for years. And I swear to you, age 48, in that spare room, I had that first orgasm for myself. Every other orgasm, and I want not even gonna, I'm pretty open with my shit, but I will never reveal my body count. But let's just say we're in some serious digits. That was the first orgasm I had ever had for myself. And then after all those years, I started to, with me and that vibrator in the spare room in menopause, just started to really love my body for myself. And I know it sounds really, I kind of wanked myself into some confidence because I just lost that part of myself. But it made me feel sexy. And the more I wanked, the more sexy I felt. And this was bizarre to me. I was like, I'd always put that on somebody else. I'd always, someone else had to make me feel sexy, or I looked to other people for that. But that really simple lesson with me and the vibrator in the spare room in lockdown in menopause, I'm like, shit, these things are down to you. And now I'm back, and now I'm in a relationship again. I walked into that confidence, vibrator in one hand. Listen, we're in this together, but I get to ask for what I want. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And that's so sexy to me, to him, to whomever. Honestly, amazing. So that's been a huge part. But I think when I do talks, one of the things one of my biggest pieces of advice to people is give up on this destination, right? We spend our whole life
Yeah.
chasing this thing. It could be, oh, I'm going to find the right guy and I'll be happy. I'm going to, if I just get more money in the account, if I just get that job, if I just get the bifolding doors on my house, everything will fall into place. If I just lose a little bit of weight and I can fit in those jeans, my whole wardrobe will all come together. We waste our whole life chasing these things. But like, if you actually ask human beings, what makes you feel good? It's a feeling, it's a moment, it's a memory. It's never, oh, well, that week I lost 3 pounds to fit into the jeans. It's never those things. But yet we waste all our time chasing bullshit. So my advice to people is always give up on the destination. Just go on, just like embrace the fucking journey. I know it's the oldest cliche in the book, right? It's a it's a cheesy board, or it's a cheesy meme on Pinterest. But I love a cheesy board on Pinterest. I love a cliche. They're all so true. And it turns out I'm not alone. There are other people going through the menopause. Yeah, here we are. And we're all in it together. When I do I actually did a TED talk, which I love to mention. I did a TED talk about my journey and the bus journey and that whole tour. And I've turned that into a show, which I now perform. I'm about to take to Edinburgh Festival. And at the end of that, I make everybody dance to I'm Every Woman, because we are literally all in it. We're all in different versions of it, but we're all feeling the same. We're all stuck. And we're all going through the same shit. So, I discovered sharing my shit, while people thank me all the time for making myself so vulnerable, I get as much back from being vulnerable and sharing my shit, and if it hadn't been for the Me Too movement, I think that changed my life. Listening to those victims and women share their stuff, that was the first time in 30 years I realised that sexual assault wasn't my fault. It taken me 30 years. It was listening to those real women tell their real stories. I suddenly went, oh, it wasn't my fault. Also, I'm not alone. This has happened to just about pretty much every woman I know. Wow. Okay. And just that whole movement, I think, shifted something in me, because when we talk about the hard stuff, what we're all going through, we feel less alone. When we shine the light on shame, we immediately take its power away, and that gives power to other women to not feel quite so alone in their shit. So, yeah, I don't know. I think once I found my voice, now I can't shut up, obviously. Would you like to speak? Would you like to speak on your own podcast at all, Joyce?
do you know at the end of the podcast, it tells you what percent when I did the transcript, it tells what percent I spoke and what percent the guest spoke. I think I'll be like 1%. but
Oh my God.
But Lou, what you just said, you're such a wise woman with such a brilliant way of expressing how many of us are feeling. What you said about it's not the destination, it's the journey. That is absolutely fundamental and a big mistake that so many people are making. I have got some bifold doors, by the way. But you're
I know. I'm just jealous because I don't.
I've got 2 sets. You can have one. No,
Yes.
but you're so right. We've got, and I know everyone talks about living at the moment and all this, but you are giving women permission and reminding them about how they can live their lives and helping them and bringing them up. You're pulling them up, which I absolutely love about you. There's so much there I want to unpick. First, let's do the sex. So I am a big fan of sex. To my son's horrors. I don't know how your son's not worried about you running around naked, but I did show them one of your videos once. They went, "Mum, don't do that."
Please, Mum.
No,
No.
please. And because I did a post at the Big Retreat Festival. One of my talks was why orgasms are good for our health, and it was a 90-minute
Yes.
session, and it was fun. It was absolutely fun. We had lots of talks at the Big Retreat about orgasms, and you're so right.
Mm.
We your story about how you felt with your husband is quite normal. I think at that particular age of our time of our lives, it does dwindle a bit. And maybe we've been sitting with, sleeping with someone for 20 or however many years. And the thought of having sex with them, it's sort of obviously it's lost its charm. It's like Karen Gurney, the great
It
sex
gets
sex.
boring,
Yeah,
Joyce. It gets boring.
she said it's like going to your favorite restaurant. Yeah, you love it, but you don't want to keep going there for 30 years.
It's boring. I mean, I don't know. I think I mean I work with quite a lot of the sex influencers and sex workers and OnlyFans work creators. I mix in that sort of sexual wellness sort of world. Those girls make me look like I'm bobbing along with my vibrator. I look dead boring compared to some of the stuff that they've opened my eyes to so many other ways of being. And I'm in a relationship now, very much fallen in love again, which is super exciting. It's an old boyfriend, it's my first love. We actually met in Cardiff back when I was 18, and we've circled back to each other. And I'm like, look, I don't want to go into this relationship not being realistic again. I have not got. I could not handle an open relationship. I'm like, no,
No.
absolutely not. But I know I'm too. I just, I look. I am very confident, but I'm also like, nah. That's not for me. My mind would just go crazy. But if you want to sleep with someone else, tell me. Let's go do it together. Let's go. I know I've met Emma Sales from Killing Kittens. I'm like, let's get ourselves down killing kittens, mate. Like, let's do it together or let's figure it out. But please, let's not go. I just watch so many marriages fall to bits with affairs, so much hurt. We're just not realistic, I think. Do you follow Esther Perel or read any Esther Perel?
No, I don't. But let's go back to Emma because I obviously met Emma as well. We had a good dance together at the Big Retreat, and she's going to come on this podcast. And
Oh, she's brilliant.
I'm like you, even though I'm very loud and I've talked about sex my whole life, but I've always been very monogamous. But I am thinking my kids are going to hate this bit. That you know what? I'm 62. What have I got to lose? So I want to go to Killing Kittens. Can we go together to Killing Kittens?
Yes. I'm not sleeping, Joyce. I'm not sleeping with you, just so you know.
Oh, please, just a little
I'm putting
snog.
some boundaries in place.
It would be the best. It would be the. I'm going to tell Emma. We're coming together. But
we all need to go together. I think Ruby Wax wants to go as well. Have a read of Esther Perel's Mating in Captivity. Fascinating book. Fascinating book. I don't know. And Glennon Doyle's Untamed as well. Have you read that?
no.
No. Oh my God. That's also a game changer. That's an amazing book. That's the story of her life. She was married to a man for years. She was alcoholic, anorexic, years and years of anxiety. And this whole book's about, our taming as women and our taking away our society and, patriarchy, life, taking away our, and taming us and taming the wild side of us. Anyway, she ends up marrying a woman. And yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, spoiler alert. It's such an amazing book. But Esther Perel, yeah, the Mating in Captivity is all about us, the fact that we're not designed to just be with one person. Where there's only 4 or 5 creatures that are monogamous in the world. I don't know. There's just I don't know, on which so many women have affairs, almost more than men, I think. I'm surrounded by a lot of women who are up to no good. And I think men get a really bad rap. I've met a lot of, my husband was a very sensitive, kind man. My son is a sensitive, kind young man, emotionally, and, very emotionally intelligent. I'm surrounded by a lot of really good men, and they've really opened my eyes up to a different side of life as well. Because I think it's really easy when we're in a bunch of women to just really gang up on men. It's really easy to blame them. And, I'm not saying patriarchy has not completely fucked us, but patriarchy's also completely fucked men as well. And I very much, that's part of the joy, I think, of moving in the well-being space. I've met so many amazing men who are, trying to lead the way. And it's just, men's groups seem to be on the rise, which I think is amazing, because I think, the internet's really helped women find their voices, and marginalised groups, right? You can find your people. You're like, oh, I was talking to friends yesterday about kink, and they were like, God, kinks really seem to be sort of like moving on. And I'm like, no, these kinks have been around for years, forever, as old as time. It's just the internet. Now we talk about them, so we know, we have access to so much more information than we ever had. So yeah, killing kittens then, Joyce. It's a date.
It's a date. Well, not a date.
A date, but not a date.
A date, not a... But staying on the orgasms, I think it's so important. When I've done my work on orgasms, I've had a lot of friends who said, "Oh, we don't bother with all that." No, please, really, orgasms are good for our health. I've written a blog about it. People can find it on my website. But finding that vibrator, I've always had a vibrator, I must admit, and I always tell teenage girls, if they're having trouble having an orgasm, you have it on your own. Figure out what makes you tick, but don't expect someone to be some sort of magician that can just make you do it. But as we get older, things change, and you might not want to have sex with your husband. You might have trouble having that whole missionary position, whatever position, doggy style, whatever. But we don't have so much energy. But having an orgasm is really important. So get those toys out, or however you want to do it, and please, you can have sex on your own. Fantastic.
It's also like going to the gym, right? If you don't, it wasn't actually like in my tracksuit, I was lying in bed going, God, why won't he shag me? Why won't he shag me? I was quite okay with it just bobbing off. And then you just, if you don't do it, you sort of get out the practice of it, and then it's such a big deal. And I don't know, I remember we do it once a year, I think, at one point, and it was like, God, when you do it, you're like, why don't we do this more?
Yeah.
But if you don't sort of keep it up, it's really easy to fall into lazy patterns. And like I was saying, we've just neglected each other's most basic needs. And that was such a huge part of me. So when I got, the in the TED talk, I talk about getting a dick pic. So I was out on a hike one day at the top of a volcano and took this naked picture of myself, which I have to say to this day is one of the most incredible shots of me ever. I was feeling so powerful and strong and bold, a completely naked picture of me at the top of this mountain. And I posted it on Facebook and got a dick pic from a 26-year-old at the gym. And I'd never had a dick pic before. I was terribly excited because when my husband and I met, there wasn't even mobile phones. That's how old we are. So it was terribly exciting, but it made me feel horny for the first time in years. And I was like, well, this is strange. Like, what's happened? Why is feeling horny a strange feeling? Where's that slutty part of me gone? And that dick pic became the beginnings of the end of my marriage, because it began this journey of kind of like, well, why is it weird that I'm feeling horny? Hang on a minute. And I started to just unpick everything, and it began the sort of like, hang on a minute, where have I gone? And it began this catalyst of me realizing quite how much of myself I had lost trying to be this perfect wife and this great mum. And where was I in all of that? And I realized that I'd moved myself so far down the priority list, trying to make everybody else happy and do what I thought everybody else needed, that I had completely lost myself and in the setup that I was in. So I hate giving the dick the power, but this dick pic really did change my life and makes me like the worst feminist in the world. And I say in the TED talk, and this is not an invitation, Dick, to be sending me dick pics, but so awkward. I knew his girlfriend as well.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. We won't go there. We won't go there.
Yeah, it was well awkward.
Now, self-love. I love the words self-care, self-love. I think they're so important. And
Mm-hmm.
you're really, this is one of your big messages, self-love. And you've got the Self-Love Unleashed tour, which you describe as part
Yeah,
comedy, part tragedy, and mostly empowering.
mostly
And
empowering.
mostly about, and you're doing, I'm going to get this podcast out just before you've got your self-love unleashed camp, which is the 11th to the 14th of August, so people will still have
Yeah.
time. If you're listening to this and you love Lou as I do, I will actually be in America at that time. I can't come, but please quickly
Oh,
grab a ticket. But tell us about it. Tell us what's going to happen on your self-love camp.
well, I think I've always just worked on I've always worked on, if I like it, someone else will like it. That's my kind of like bottom line of everything. And I have surrounded myself with the most badass women. I call it my Rolodex of badass bitches that I have been gathering. Bye, darling. Good luck. You can go to... can you do keys up? Yes, will do. Sorry. Shoftwish doing work experience in court. So
Oh,
she's very
bless.
smart. I've surrounded myself with an amazing collection of women and empowering speakers and empowering women. And so it's basically it's 4 days of all of the things I love the most. So there's fitness, there's stepping out of your comfort zone, there's inspiring speakers, there's wild workshops. We're doing a breastgasm workshop this year. There's amazing DJs, there's beautiful food, it's a beautiful spot, it's community, it's connection, it's womanhood. Last year, someone did leave their husband. So I will warn you that it is very transformative. We did one amazing exercise and with one of my friends last year, and it was about, she's a wealth coach. She helps women she helps them with their finances, but she also does a lot of work linked to our self-worth and our finances and finding your voice around finances. She does a lot of work with couples, helping them talk about money and find communication, how to communicate about money, how to find a system in the house where everybody feels equitable. Amazing work that she does. So I had her, she's done a lot of work with me around my self-worth with money. And so I think everyone was expecting a chat about ISAs. And in fact, what she did was the most amazing workshop about goal setting. And she got us all, there was 50 of us. She had us all lined up in a long row in the field, all facing the same direction. And she said, you are all in, you're all at number 10, you're all in your dream, you're standing in your big idea, the goal you want to get to, whatever that may be. Think about what it is where you want to get to. So we all had a little think. And she said, right, down there is number 1, and that's the day you had the idea or the day you had the thought. So I want you now to all move to where you are from having your idea to reaching your goal. So everybody moved, and we were all over the place, as you can imagine. Some people were at one, so we're all sort of staggered in this long line, and we're still facing the idea. So she said, right, now I want you to, on 3, I want you to all turn around and face your goals. So we all went, okay, fine. So we all turn around. 1, 2, 3, we all turn around to face our goals. And a couple of people started crying. And then she said, right, now I want you to sit with how you feel. So we sat there for a little minute thinking about how we felt. Then she said, right, and then I want you to take a step forward towards your goal and really sit with how you feel. Well, it was, I cannot tell you, the whole field erupted. There was people falling on the ground crying. There was people running backwards. They were running away. It was so amazing. And then she said, now, share with whoever's next to you. The lady in front of me was crumpled on the ground. And I was like, I couldn't take a step forward. I was so stuck. Forward. I started crying. I was like, I can't take a step forward. I don't see how I can move forward. I'm finding so many reasons not to move forward. The lady next to me had taken her step forward. She was on the ground. I was like, what's your goal? Do you mind me asking what your goal is? I need to leave my husband. I don't want to get to my goal, but I have to. The lady had run back to the beginning. I was like, what's up with you? My goal is to retire. I have absolutely no idea how I'm ever going to get there. So she was crying on the
Oh my
ground back
God.
at number one. I just cannot see my way there. There was women picking up women and carrying them towards their goal. It was so powerful and amazing. It's, and so now on the group chat, we're all like, I've reached number 8. Oh, I've gone back to number 6. And the rest of the crew's like, come on, you can get back to 7. Just keep going, keep going. So it was really incredible experience. So yeah, camp is something else. But the Self-Love Unleashed tour is on all the way till November. Susie and I are booked all over the place. Our last booking is at the end of November in Brighton. So yeah, we're all over the place. I think I mentioned I'm doing the Edinburgh Festival, doing the show. And the show is basically my TED talk, but I've expanded it and I take everybody on my journey because I have many funny stories to tell. And then I do my top 10 tips for self-love, which is everything from owning your shit to forgiveness to wank your face off to dress the fuck up to what else is there in there? Getting vulnerable, get involved, move your body. And then as part of the show, I do permission slips. So when I left, I began to tell you, and then I didn't quite finish. When I left on the tour, and Roe versus Wade had just been overturned, and I was a bit sort of scared of going around America, I wanted to see if different women in different states felt differently. And so I started to get women at the events to write their own permission slips. What is it without shame or judgment that you would do? And so I have been collecting these permission slips now for years. I've got thousands of them. And then what I do in the show is I get people to write them in the interval, and then I share them in the show when we talk about them. And they vary. I mean, they vary and they don't vary, but they vary from I want to go running in a crop top to I want to leave my husband for a woman to I want to tell my husband I want anal sex to I want a rest. I just want to have a rest to I want to be in charge of the remote control on the sofa on a Saturday night. I mean, and when you share those with every woman's permission with everybody in the room, it's so powerful because other women's permissions are so illuminating to you. It might be that you go, well, I go running in a crop top all the time, to, wow, am I in charge of the remote control on a Saturday night? Or do we just watch actually what my husband wants to watch, because that's a lot less hassle. And I'll watch my programmes when he's not in. Interesting. I just found that's probably one of the most fascinating permission slips I've ever had, because I'm like, there's more to that than the remote control. You clearly have no control in your relationship whatsoever. Like, it's not just the remote control. If you can't ask for what you want to watch on the telly, I would suggest that there's probably other things that you're not getting in your marriage or your relationship that you need. So the permission slips are immensely powerful, because every permission slip gives every woman in that room that permission as well. So you either go away going, I need to up my permission game, or it really makes you think. So yeah, they're fascinating. One day they will be the most amazing book. When I get round to it, Joyce.
I could see that. I could see that. It was obviously in my head. I knew that's where. But Lou, the brilliant thing about you is, one, you getting together other amazing people, which you're doing at your camp, which is fantastic. That's my philosophy as well. I always say I'm a facilitator. I get other people who are much more intelligent and brilliant than me, and I spend time with them, and I hope it rubs off.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Always surround yourself with women who are smarter than you.
Absolutely.
Always. Don't be threatened by other women. Surround yourself with the women that challenge you, teach you, that you can learn from, that you think are not better than you, but who are smarter than you, or women. I like surrounding myself sometimes with women I don't necessarily agree with, because I think that's where we learn. I know at the big retreat, everyone's sort of sitting there, and I went, right, your challenge for this weekend when I was doing my talk is don't go and do fucking yoga. You do fucking yoga every day. don't come here and waste your money and your time and this moment by doing the shit you already do all the time. Go and do something. Go to Joyce's orgasm workshop. It's going to scare the shit out of you. Go and do the thing. Do the thing you're afraid of, because that is where we learn. That's where magic is. You don't, hanging out with the same people who you just agree with and always do the same thing. What you're learning, you're not doing anything. Yeah, it's nice, but you're never going to learn or grow. And even if you meet someone you disagree with, you're learning something new if you can be patient with it. And I learned that on the tour, just meeting, meeting the racists. I'm meeting the,
Mm.
the anti, the pro-lifers, the anti-abortionists, who normally I would just like block or not follow or have nothing to do with or not surround myself with. But they were the conversations that stuck with me. They're the conversations like, wow, why do you think like that? That fascinates me. Why do you think like that? And then in those conversations I get to share why I think what and I don't know you ever going to change people's minds like that
No.
when they're so stuck in stuff. But if I can make her think, meeting an anti-abortionist, and it might seem like a really simple thing. I'm meeting this couple in a pool in Vegas, and we were talking about it, and they were a couple, and the wife was freaking out. She was going, come away from her, to her husband, talking about me. She's one of them, and I went, I'm just trying to have a conversation. I'm just curious what you think, what's your solution then, and she's like, oh, these babies could all be adopted. And I sort of said, do you have daughters and sisters? And they're both like, yeah, we've got 3 daughters and 2 sisters. So I'm like, I'm just asking, if they were raped and got pregnant, is that what you would want them to do? You would want them to have to carry that baby, go through birth, put it up for adoption, and then just bob on with their normal life. That is what you want for your daughters. And this couple were like, well, we've just never thought about it like that. And I'm like, how have you never thought about it like that? And it became absolutely fascinating to me, because I was trained to think like that. My mum and dad's first point of call is always somebody else's shoes. Put yourself in their shoes. And as a kid, you're like, fuck their shoes, mum, I don't care about their shoes. But then as I've grown up, it's probably the best thing they ever taught me. Or the biggest gift they gave me was to be able to do that. People aren't brought up like that. That's something I completely took for granted till I went on this tour. But these people fascinated me, and maybe they went off and just thought, well, she's freaking crazy. Or maybe they went off and thought, oh, maybe she's got a point. I don't know. We'll never know. But those conversations are important for me to have, and I think, because I do have a big mouth, and I'm not afraid to have the conversations other people maybe are. Doesn't mean that that's easy sometimes. I get a lot of flack sometimes, get a lot of grief when you put your head above the parapet, and we're trained, and, I can take it. Interestingly, I can take criticism from men, but I find when women criticize me or tear me down for doing something on the internet, that will make my blood boil, Joyce. We've got to be better as women. Of standing up for each other, protecting each other, having each other's back. Tear another woman down on the internet for wearing a bikini or dancing in a
Oh, yeah.
fountain. It's always the women in the comments with the shittiness, and it's like, not good enough at all. In 2025, we know better, and we can't expect to be taken seriously and have seats at tables when we're just pulling each other apart about the way we look or the way we're behaving. We should be in this together. I don't know, it just drives me fucking crazy. It makes no sense to me.
But what you've done, as well as surrounding yourself by amazing women, what you're also doing, which I love and which I'm doing as well for my next book, is listening to the stories of women. You've done that from the beginning, and that
Mm,
is so powerful. It's just amazing. So
so
well done, and I
powerful.
can't wait to see the book of this for sure. Right, we're going to come near the end now, because you've been talking for an hour. No,
You
I'm joking.
talked for half an hour for one question.
But I loved it. I loved it that you recently did a series of posts about what brings you joy every day. And this podcast mini series is all about reclaiming joy, because I think people have lost their joy. But I wanted to ask you, I ask everyone at the end, because I've always been obsessed by happiness. I've wanted people, I'm a very, very happy person. And I know lots of people are not there and they have a lot of pain. But Lou,
Mm-mm.
what makes you happy, and where is your happy place?
Very quickly, because I know I've overtalked. It's been very interesting doing that series of what gives me joy in a world gone to shit. Because part of my top 10 tips is making gratitude and joy part of your daily practice. And I think I'm very good at that. I was raised with all things bright and beautiful, trees, bees, all of the things. Mum and dad were very much rooted in nature. And I think I've always had an appreciation for very simple pleasures. But actually doing that series of searching for stuff that gives me joy is actually really actively looking each day for what it is. It's been quite a game changer this week. It's been quite a game changer. And it's not always that easy. It's actually not always that easy. And I always say to people, write everything down good that happens in a day. You will be gobsmacked how long the list is at the end of the day. Even if you're feeling miserable, if you write down every good thing from, oh my God, this morning, favorite cup was clean, like coffee was perfect temperature, I nailed it. It was like, fuck yes. That's how basic I go, right? And when I'm down, I consciously do this for a day or 3 days, and then you sort of find your way back to sort of like seeking the joy again. Joy for me, oh my God, it's so many things. Can it be more than one thing?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Nature, being with other women together, it's just fucking powerful as shit. A gin and tonic, a really good gin and tonic, a really good margarita. Being on my bus, getting the bus back on the road and standing in my bus and smelling the smell of my bus takes me back to that road trip when I left my husband.
Oh.
And all those feelings. When I left Portland and drove out of Portland, I was so fucking scared. I didn't even know where I was going or what I was kind of doing. I had my mission, but I didn't, there was no end goal other than just get to New York, get to these events, get to New York, step by step, step by step. And as my fear sort of turned to freedom, I look back at that journey and I'm like, I felt like my mum and dad had, after 25 years marriage and mothering for 20 years, I felt like it was a feeling like my parents had gone on holiday and I got the house to myself. I could do what I fucking wanted. And I still feel a bit like that. I still like my mum's going to come home and realise I've been really naughty. That feeling of freedom, I think, is probably my joy. But then also birds, got blackberries from the garden yesterday, watching my son grow up and be a decent human being. So many things. So many things. My marriage was really look back at that and go, I did a good job with that for a really long time. And I'm sad it ended, but that's okay also. I was talking about conscious uncoupling the other day and someone went, oh my God, that's so fucking middle class. And I went, no, it's really important for me to hold space for my marriage when it was really good. I loved it. It's given me my son. It gave me loads of me. It will always be a massive part of me. And I really want to honour that for what it was, because it was terribly important to me. And I'm sad it ended. I'm also okay that it ended. That was that was great. The journey life, I guess, waking up every morning and being grateful. Some mornings I'm more grateful than others, I can't lie. Good cup of coffee. Someone telling me they like my outfit. Someone let me out in the traffic. I don't know. When I get a clean pair of knickers and a bra that match.
Woohoo!
A new set of eyelashes. Good set of nails. The smell of clean laundry. Is that enough?
Yeah, definitely.
Empowering another woman.
Well, you're going to empower lots of people. You do empower lots of people. And what the thinking of every day, I do think it's really important. So I love that series of posts that you did. I did a positive psychology course with my lovely dear friend. We call each other our twinnies, Miriam Akhtar, who wrote The Little Book of Happiness and lots of other things. And on her course, she said that's what we did. She said every day when you wake up, think, what is going to bring me joy today? It could be having a candlelit bath or dancing around the kitchen to I Feel Love or whatever. It doesn't have to be massive,
Yeah,
but I did that for a while and it was so life changing for me. So I think, and you've
it
said that
really
as well.
is.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah, it really is. I think it's somebody said to me once, someone was telling me once, I was like, write all the good things down. And in her journal, she writes good things in blue and the harder things in red. And she did that. So without even having to read it, she can glance at a page and she can see that actually there's more blue than red or whatever way. You know, she can see instantly if things are out of kilter. And she's like, even when I'm really down, if I've written the good things in red, I can see really clearly that there's more good than there is bad. And I was
Oh,
like, fascinating. I cannot handle that. I'm lucky if I can find a pen and sit down and write. But I just thought that was a really interesting way of doing it, and a really, I do bang on about journaling. I'm always like, I know it's really annoying, but it's just so powerful. It's such a powerful, powerful, powerful tool that you have at your fingertips. You just got to make yourself do it. But yeah, so that's what brings me joy, Professor Joy Harper.
I know. I used to
All
hate
of
my
those.
name.
And you.
Yeah. And now I really like my name. It's very trendy now to have joy in my name. The
I
Lou,
know, it's brilliant.
the very last question, and I absolutely love your view of aging, and your aging view of aging is the same as mine. It's a bloody brilliant, it's a privilege, and it gets better and better. But what advice? I know this is a classic bit of a cheesy question, but I've always ended my podcast. And what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, be yourself. Be yourself. Don't be afraid or ashamed to take up the space. Because you deserve it. You are absolutely, you do have a place in this world. You do have a very clear path in this world. Just keep going step by step. Don't fucking dare give up. Just keep going. You were allowed a day off to feel sorry for yourself when things don't go right, but then you pick yourself fucking up and you keep going step by step. And some days it will be breath by breath, and that's okay, because the next day it will be a different day, and you just keep fucking going. And buy a vibrator sooner.
Oh, more than one, more than one. I've got
More than one.
I'll tell you this. In my bedroom, there's a Fortnum and Mason's hamper basket that someone gave me, and it's got all my vibrators in. And when I did the blog, I just picked, and I did give them a wash first. I did a photo of just, I think I did 3 or 4, but I have my favourites. But yes,
Oh yeah.
Lou, Lou, you are an absolute inspiration. I think everyone needs to come
Thanks.
to your show. I'm going to try and come to your show in Brighton. I will bring Fanny the camper
Yes.
van, and Fanny and Susie can
Yes.
hang out together. I'm going to
There we
check.
go.
I'm going to check the dates now, and I'm going to book in. And I really wish I was here to come to your
Yes.
camp, but I'm going to be.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in the US with my boys, and I was going to come to Edinburgh actually that week, but the friend I was going to go with isn't well, so we're not going now. But if I was in Edinburgh, I'd come to see you. So
Well,
everyone needs to come and see you. They need to
come
meet
up.
you.
Come and
Well, I'm going to be in
come and
America. I
stay on the
think I'm
bus.
going to see what the times. August for me now has not got a spare day in, but please, everybody, go and see Lou. Meet Lou. If you loved her online and on this podcast, I absolutely guarantee when you meet Lou in real life, you will love her even more. She's just a wonderful, inspiring, perfect human. And Lou, I can't wait to meet you next. I see you the other day when I saw you at an event we were at, and I saw you across the road. I was like, oh my God, there she is. I just love you. I love you, love you, love you. And
Oh,
thank
thanks,
you.
darling. Ditto that.
Oh, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And we are, yeah,
Oh, thank you for having me, darling.
we're going to Killing Kittens.
And I'll see you at Killing Kittens.
We'll report back. No photos, but we'll report
We
back.
will. Right, part two. Come back for part two.
Thank you so much. Please, everyone, follow Lou if you're not already on Instagram, and everyone, I'll put the links on the show notes. And Lou, thank you, and have a wonderful weekend. I'm going off raving.
Go dance in a field, sister. Have the
I
best
will.
time.
I will. Thank you, my darling.
So much love, darling. Thank you. Bye.